Our cross-country road trip had taken us from the heart of Mississippi to the boundless expanse of California, a journey filled with the promise of adventure. But somewhere in the desolate desert of Arizona, or maybe New Mexico, we encountered a force of nature that turned the open road into a theater of chaos. It all began with the familiar pattering of raindrops against the windshield. The wind picked up, and the rain grew more intense. But soon, the desert's dry, thirsty soil started playing a part in a surreal meteorological drama. With every raindrop that touched the parched ground, it kicked up clouds of dust and sand. In mere minutes, both sides of the road were engulfed by a colossal dust cloud, a wall of gritty obscurity that soared up to 30 feet. Above this swirling, gritty abyss, the rain poured down, giving the surreal impression of a freeway cutting through a gigantic, roiling dust cloud. The spectacle was reminiscent of Moses parting the Red Sea, only it was a freeway parting a colossal dust storm. But the drama was far from over. With each flash of lightning, the dust clouds revealed their secrets. Multiple tornadoes and dust devils swirled menacingly on either side of our vehicle, reminding us of the desert's volatile temperament. As the storm reached its peak of fury, we made a crucial decision to seek shelter. Spotting a motel on the horizon, we raced toward it, accompanied by a small entourage of other drivers who had made the same choice. The tempest roared to life just as we reached the motel. Hailstones bombarded the landscape as we bolted into the lobby. Amid the chaos, one unfortunate soul slipped in the parking lot, a grim wound marring his escape from the tempest. With adrenaline-fueled determination, my husband and I ventured back into the fury to rescue him, dragging him to safety. In the lobby, a motley group assembled, a mix of travelers off the road and motel guests. A handful of brave motel staff joined us, and we huddled together, seeking refuge from the maelstrom. We gazed at the security camera feed displayed on the desk computer. One by one, the cameras outside fell victim to the storm, obliterated by hail, swallowed by the merciless winds. In the end, all that remained on the screens were static and the relentless howling of the elements. It was a scene right out of a disaster movie, a chapter of our cross-country journey we'd never forget. The forces of nature had unveiled their incredible power that day, forever etching the memory of our desert storm encounter into our adventurous souls. Driving through the vast desert expanse of Arizona, my wife and I embarked on an adventure we would never forget. The sun had dipped below the horizon, and we found ourselves enveloped in the heart of a thunderstorm, nature's fury unleashed upon the barren landscape. Our convertible, a symbol of freedom on the open road, quickly turned into a sopping, leaky vessel as the rain cascaded relentlessly. Panicking, we scrambled to stuff towels wherever we could to stem the deluge pouring in. The desert had become a surreal watery wasteland. Then came the lightning, fierce and unrelenting. Multiple strikes hit the ground on either side of the desolate road, illuminating the night sky with blinding intensity. I strained to maintain control of the car, crawling along at a mere 10 to 15 miles per hour. The headlights cut through the torrential downpour, casting an eerie glow on the road ahead. Our emergency flashers blinked a desperate SOS into the maelstrom, and the wipers worked overtime to keep even a modicum of visibility. As the tempest raged on, threatening to devour our little convertible, I spotted something in the rearview mirror. Red and blue flashing lights. A cop car was slowly gaining on us. Panic set in. I couldn't afford to stop in these conditions. "I'm not stopping for this guy," I muttered to my wife, my knuckles white, as I gripped the wheel. The police vehicle drew closer, pulling alongside us in the relentless storm. An officer peered through the windshield, sizing us up. With a weather-beaten nod, he seemed to understand the peril we were in. Without a word, he continued on, lights flashing, disappearing into the churning night. Our journey through the Australian desert might have taken us through intense thunderstorms before, but nothing could compare to the wild tempest that shook the Arizona desert that night. It was a surreal and heart-pounding experience, etched into our memories forever. When I was just 11 years old, a summer day turned into a heart-pounding encounter with the forces of nature that I'd remember for the rest of my life. On that fateful day, it was just my two sisters and me at home in our peaceful countryside residence when a tornado decided to make an uninvited appearance. There were no blaring alarms in the countryside to alert us, just the sky and the elements that spoke their ominous language. It all began as a thunderstorm, but it quickly escalated, with the heavens darkening ominously above us. The first sign that something was amiss was when all the wind ceased, as if a cosmic switch had been flipped. I vividly recall looking up at the tree's highest branches, and it was eerie to see the leaves there, suspended in an eerie stillness. A few moments later, our ears picked up on a distant, peculiar sound. It was a rumble, faint but growing louder, like the distant echo of a speeding train. The strange thing was, there were no railroad tracks anywhere near our home. It was then that we knew, with a shiver of dread, that we were facing a tornado. Panic took hold as we raced into the basement, seeking refuge from the approaching tempest. We huddled together, our hearts pounding as the sound of that ominous, train-like roar grew ever closer. It was an indelible auditory sign that a tornado was indeed approaching. We watched from the safety of our basement shelter as the monstrous vortex crossed the open fields, churning up the earth as it came. Our next-door neighbor's yard bore witness to the tornado's mighty grasp as it casually plucked up a barrel as if it were a child's toy. As the twister drew nearer to our abode, it lifted itself into the air, sparing our home from its destructive touch. The only casualty was our antenna, torn from its perch. It was an unforgettable experience, one that left us awestruck by the raw power of nature. Our encounter with the tornado was a powerful reminder of the unpredictability and wonder of the world we live in, a memory etched into our collective consciousness. One fateful day, there was a colossal storm brewing on the horizon. My dad and I decided to stand witness to the tempest's fury, taking refuge in the garage with the door wide open. As we marveled at the dark clouds and the relentless downpour, nature decided to add a dash of suspense to the scenario. With an abrupt flash of lightning and a deafening clap of thunder, the power throughout our house succumbed to the storm's might. It was a moment of abrupt darkness that felt like plunging into the depths of the night. My dad, who was known for his sometimes questionably timed sense of humor, couldn't help but react with a comedic twist. As he stood in the garage beside me, he swiftly placed his hand over his mouth, a theatrical gesture of shock, and exclaimed, "Oh dear." I was a curious and somewhat anxious 10-year-old, so naturally I demanded an explanation. "What happened? Why did you say, 'oh dear'?" I asked, my voice laced with apprehension. My dad, with a sly smile lurking in the corners of his lips, answered, "The power went out, and the garage is still open." His tone was rife with concern, which only heightened my panic. I was desperate for him to elucidate the dire implications of this power outage and the open garage. With an air of gravity, he continued, "You see, when the power goes out and the garage door is left ajar like this, it creates a negative pressure inside the house. And that negative pressure, my dear, could cause the entire house to explode." My young heart couldn't bear the weight of such a revelation. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I sprinted off to find my mom, my cries echoing through the house. My dad, though, couldn't contain his amusement, and he broke into laughter. It was one of those memorable moments when my dad's playful jest sent me on an emotional roller coaster, from sheer panic to relief, albeit with a touch of embarrassment. And it was a classic example of how humor can sometimes be the most unexpected and effective way to deal with life's little surprises. I was just a middle schooler at the time, wrapped up in one of those after-school events that seemed to stretch endlessly into the late afternoon. It was late January, and a pallid gray sky had been gently showering snowflakes upon us throughout the day. The cloud cover was thick and seemingly endless, shrouding the world in a pale, overcast hue. With the school event finally coming to a close, I decided it was time to give my mom a call. I walked over to the school phone and dialed her number, informing her that I was ready to be picked up. Once my call was completed, I made my way outside and leaned against the bike rack, hoping to spot my mom's familiar car in the slowly accumulating snow. The day, however, was about to take a turn that would leave a lasting memory etched in my mind. Out of nowhere, a deafening crack sliced through the air. Thunder. It was the last thing I expected on that wintry day. As I puzzled over this unusual phenomenon, it dawned on me that I was about to witness a meteorological rarity, a thunderstorm and blizzard colliding in one dramatic display. In the blink of an eye, nature unleashed its fury. An eerie fog began to snake its way toward me, swiftly engulfing the surroundings. The once light snowflakes escalated into a heavy, swirling tempest, making me feel as if I had been trapped in a snow globe. The wind, as if sensing the changing landscape, started to howl and rage. But the most unnerving aspect of this rapidly unfolding spectacle was the constant barrage of lightning and thunder. It was as if the heavens themselves were engaging in a dramatic battle. Quickly, I decided to vacate my position beside the bike racks, seeking refuge from both the cold and the lightning. I found a small alcove that provided shelter from the howling wind and hoped it would shield me from the electrically charged storm. It was a matter of mere seconds, but those were the longest moments of my young life. As I huddled in the alcove, lightning struck the very bike rack I had been leaning against moments before. The electric bolt sent shivers down my spine. The sensation of narrowly escaping a potentially deadly encounter with nature was overwhelming. The day I experienced a thunder blizzard was unlike anything I had ever encountered before. While I had grown up in the Midwest, where thunderstorms and blizzards were a common occurrence, dealing with both at the same time, while narrowly evading a lightning strike, was a genuinely terrifying experience.